So I just want to say welcome Magenta Pixie, and it's such an honour to be with you again. And last time that we met, it was quite emotional for me. Like, I felt such a deep sister connection with you that it's quite rare for me to have that connection with someone. And it touched my soul so deeply. And I really love you. And I just want you to know that you are totally and absolutely in my heart. And I feel so blessed that our paths have crossed.
Oh, Jen, that's lovely. That's lovely. Thank you for asking me back. It's really nice to talk again. I feel the same about you. I think you're amazing what you're doing. As I was just saying off camera, I think you look fantastic. Your hair is gorgeous. You look like such a goddess. Both of you together, connecting, and twin flame couple. Love it.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to say, thank you to so many of your subscribers reached out to me and they met me through you. And I just want to say hello and thank you so much. I received so many emails of people just saying they loved our connection. They felt they just really, really helped them to touch their own divinity by being in our sort of vibration of our sisterhood. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing how many people reached out to me. And the funny thing was, I took a sabbatical from doing sessions for about 4 months. And then I just suddenly I was like, oh, I'm going to start doing sessions again. And I just put it up on my website. And every person that booked last week came from you. And I just think it's so powerful. And I just really want to acknowledge you and for opening up your platform to me. And I just think we're such a powerhouse together.
Definitely. I had people love our last session. I had so many good comments, and I think I probably mentioned this to you before. What was so funny was my son-in-law belongs to one of the sort of truther groups, and he's in the truther group chatting to someone, and somebody said, you've got to listen to these two psychic women from the UK. And they posted it, and he said, that's my mother-in-law. And he said to my daughter, one of your mum's videos just been posted in one of the groups I'm in. And she's like, what? And she messaged me, Mum, your video's been posted in my group.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
That was us. That was us too.
Yeah. And because, you know, we're two awake women, and it's like what the world has most feared. You know what I mean? One awake woman's enough.
I know.
Two awake.
Oh, totally, yes.
It's just like move aside deep state. Like, you're done. You're absolutely done.
Yes, absolutely. We certainly are intending and focusing on that, aren't we?
Absolutely. So I think so much has been going on in the world since our last meeting. I mean, where do we even begin? Where do we even begin? Is there anything sort of pressing you at the moment that you want to sort of hot to speak about?
I agree with you. There's so much going on. I mean, I can't keep up with the news on a third dimensional level. I mean, I am continuously in contact with the nine, you know, more so than ever, really, daily, and every night they're talking to me all night long and showing me things. A lot of the stuff, I wake up and I hardly remember everything that they show me. Luckily, I can manage to bring that back, but I'm seeing diagrams and pictures, numbers, geometry, ways to focus, how to move into consciousness. It's getting more and more intense and complex, and it takes me a while to process it all. So there's just so much going on, and on a third dimensional level I can't keep up with the news. I'm sure it's the same with you. I get people sending me things continuously. I can't even keep up with my inbox. I can't keep up with my emails. It's just impossible. I'm missing messages and missing emails all the time because they're just full. I'm getting sent videos, articles, and messages from people, all so insightful, so profound. Every single email has a wonderful gem of information and knowledge in it, and as I said, I can't keep up with it third dimensionally. So there's nothing totally pressing in my mind other than just go with whatever you want to start talking about.
Okay, well, I got triggered yesterday, and I very, very rarely get triggered, but I got triggered. And I was on Twitter, and I was led to a post by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and he was basically saying, we don't approve of the, I can't exactly remember how he said it, but he was accusing the rioters as being far right extreme when obviously we know it's far left. And he was saying that all of those people that want to come to protect the statues, the patriots that want to protect the statues and to protect the monuments in London from the rioters that are like horrifically abusing the police, they're not welcome. He actually made a post saying that he is in full support of the riots and is not in any way support of the patriots that want to protect our country. And I just thought, it can't get any worse than this. What have we come to when everything's being twisted and the media at the moment is really jumping on this idea that it's far right extremism, when we know for an absolute fact it's far left extremism. And it's just avoiding the real issues all the time. And yeah, it really, really triggered me. And I don't know what we can do about that. I mean, what's your feelings about that, Magenta? It leads us into the BLM, the whole sort of like Black Lives Matter, which is the hot topic at the moment. And obviously, like, we're going to be speaking about that. So just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, we had something similar up in the area that I live in, and one of the statues has now been boarded up. So there's wood, it's been placed in a wooden box to protect the statue.
Right.
I think it's difficult. I mean, I try not to go with this left and this right political way of expressing, because I think that in itself has been hijacked, because they can take people who are on the left and put them in the right and vice versa. And so it's a difficult one to call. I think what we've got here is we've got some mayors, you know, like Sadiq Khan in London. And if you're looking at the US, you've got mayors and governors. And some of them are, so rather than saying left and right, I would say cabal and non-cabal. So you've got cabal leaders. They are going to be on the side of any of the dissidents and rioters. They are not going to be on the side of any peaceful, law-abiding protesters.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult for people, because you've also got some non-cabal leaders and governors. So it's like, where do people look? People are like, well, it's the protesters' fault. No, it's not. It's the governor's fault. It's the president's fault. It's the prime minister's fault. No one knows who is who. But when you come to what you were saying, the people that you are mentioning, then what you are talking about is you have a cabal person in a state of power who is obviously going to side with the cabal agenda, which is destruction and chaos and fueling race wars and anything to divide humanity. So obviously you've got individuals, I mean, some individuals, predominantly those individuals protecting the statues, are patriots, but you could also have infiltration even there as well. So but yeah, this is part of the agenda to cause chaos and division, and it makes people easier to control when they get to the point where they think, do you know what, I've had enough. I just can't take this anymore. I just want it to stop. When somebody gets to that point where they've absolutely had enough, they're easy to control then. And humanity, not all of humanity, but much of humanity in the Western world anyway, but in other places too, are getting to that point. So we have to have that stamina and that understanding of what the cabal's plan is. So it's like the cabal's plan is for you to get to a point where you have had enough and you can't stand it anymore. So make sure that you don't ever get to that place, because you know that it's an agenda. But those who don't know about the agenda are totally falling for the trap. So I can understand why you were triggered. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily I was triggered, but I have felt very slightly, I mean, not insulted, that's too strong a word, just surprised and just a little tiny bit affected by people asking me a question that to me is so obvious, given the work that I've been putting out for 12 years, that I actually think, why would you even ask me that question? And I guess there is a small amount of triggering with me, given the past. And that is people looking at it was mostly the round table that we did, where there were 13 of us.
Yeah.
The amount of people that said, you know, where's the black woman? Why isn't there a ethnic minority represented amongst you? Why are you all white? This sort of thing. It was only a few comments, one actually calling us all racist. And I discussed this with my recent interview with Patricia Corey and Laura Eisenhower. We talked about this a lot, so I don't need to go into it.
Yeah.
But I've had people, nice people, saying, don't you think it is a good idea though, Magenta, that you have a black person on your panel? And someone else, what about this person? She's black and she's a really good spiritual teacher. And they're trying to be helpful. The reason why I find that a little bit mildly triggering and just a tiny bit insulting, I'm not insulted because I understand. But for me, if you've been following my work, even if you've only been following my work for 6 months, but if you've been following my work, you will know you don't need to ask me that question. And I've had a little bit more people be a bit more direct, like, can't you just answer the question, Magenta? Are you willing to have a black person on your panel? And I feel, do you know what? I'm not going to answer that question. I think that's passive aggressive for you to draw me into that. Absolutely. Because the answer is obvious. It's like saying to me, Magenta, would you be prepared to share your messages from the 9 with us? Come on. Are you going to answer whether you're going to share the 9's messages or not? What have I been doing for 12 years? When it comes to my own personal journey, I have been incredibly sensitive towards racism. If I come across anyone in my social circle who makes the slightest racist comment or racist joke, I mean, in the past, I'm not so triggered now, but in the past, you know, I would get so annoyed. I would absolutely stand up for, you know, black and ethnic minority people and any people outside of a normal heterosexual gender, LGBT, you know, black minorities, anyone in that minority group that might have prejudices against them. I've been fighting their corner since I was a child. And when I was a teenager, I was terrible. I mean, I lost so many friends because I knew it was so wrong inside. So after all of that, and having come to a balanced place and moving in my work with the 9 and presenting work about unity, togetherness and unconditional love, which is for everyone, why would you even ask, are you willing to have a black person on your panel? What I will add is the round tables that we're doing, the people, the guests, are nothing to do with me. I can suggest someone, but it's not my project. It's Paula's project. She is the one who chooses the guests. But people obviously think it's my panel because it's on my, I upload it to my YouTube channel, as you do as well. And in fact, somebody actually mentioned you. They said, well, Jen's interviewed a black person, so can't you do the same? I'm like, what's wrong? I mean, I just think it's more insulting to actually find a token black person and say, look, I need you on my channel because you're black. No, this is wrong. This is about organic connection, and of course that includes every single person of every single color and gender and belief. It's unity. So that miffed me a little bit, but I won't say I was triggered. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sort of defending and, you know, that stance. I just did feel, well, my main emotion was surprise. So I was like, you know, why would you not listen? Cross your mind? And you know, people said, well, the reason why this hasn't crossed your mind is because white people are colorblind. They just look at a panel of 13 white women and they just think it's normal. It doesn't cross their mind to think that there should be a black person there. No, That is not what it is. It is not because it's normal, and it's not because I'm colorblind. It's because spiritual gatherings happen organically through synchronicity. That doesn't mean that Black people and ethnic minorities are not in the synchronicity. It means that they weren't in the synchronicity in that particular moment for that particular formation, but they may well be tomorrow or the next day or next week, because it isn't about color or race or gender. Other than it was a divine feminine group. That's the only reason why it was about gender, is because we're presenting the divine feminine group. Would I like a Black woman on our panel? Yes. Do I want a gender neutral woman on our panel? Yes. Do I want a trans woman on our panel? Yes. Of course, of course, of course. Have you not been listening to my messages? So yeah, when you're talking about triggering, I think I was mildly triggered on that, I will admit.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, because, you know, I think that when you've really, really, you know, had your third eye blasted open and you've truly, truly swam in the ocean of unity, it's very, very, very hard to backtrack and to understand that consciousness that perceives from such a pathetically superficial level. Because obviously the moment I had my awakening when I was 21 in the Himalayas, I realized that my soul is eternal and it has chosen every single form possible: black, white, yellow, green, Indian, African, everything. I've done it all. In fact, I've been mostly Indian. I know for a fact I've been mostly Indian in my past lives. And so everything just gets so the truth is so powerful, and it trumps all illusion. And I think you know, that's what I've had to like go back to. Okay, yeah, let's try and get back into that perception of like of understanding, like, there are some people in the world that actually do look at the color of people's skin. And to me, that is an alien concept. I absolutely know that we are all Mother, Father, God's children, and there is not one single one of us that is special. God loves us all equally, because God is a beautiful parent. And what kind of parent has favorites? A terrible parent. And Mother, Father, God is a beautiful, beautiful parent. And so all of us are equally special in God's eyes, you know. And the fact that we all chose, like, people trying to put this idea of white supremacy and guilt for being white, that is mockery to God. Absolute mockery to God, because we all sat at the feet of Mother, Father, God, and we made our plan, we made our life plan, and we chose our vessels in order to serve, ultimately in order to serve our brothers and sisters. And we chose vessels that were going to work for us and work for the collective, in terms of awakening as many brothers and sisters as possible. But on another note, it's very interesting what Spirit has shown me about our Black brothers and sisters. And I've been shown that they are it's almost like the earth is one of the only realms where Black people are. So on a universal and galactic level, Black people are very, very special. And whereas there's kind of like white, sort of like Caucasian people in Pleiades, in Arcturus, but I was shown that it's very, very rare to take on the form of a black body. And I think that it's such a gift. I really think it's such an incredible gift on a soul level to incarnate into a Black vessel, and it contributes absolutely massively to your evolution to receive those codes that are specifically pertaining to that lifetime. So it's funny with me arguing, like, people try to argue with me about race, like I have such a higher perspective that it's very, very difficult to go back into that kind of like lower back and forth. And I refuse to go into a back and forth with absolutely anyone, because this is between me and God. And it's like I said in one of my posts, I've dedicated my life to pleasing God in every moment. And that means pleasing God's children. And so I don't need to prove my goodness to anyone, because this is between me and God. Yeah. And so I'd love to see someone try to throw the white privilege card on me. I'll give it a go, and it's just not going to work, because I'm just too awake.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, and I think you've put it really, really well. And as I said, I recently did a chat with Patricia Corey and Laura Eisenhower, and we more or less said exactly the same thing that you have just said. And one of the things I said was, we've done this work before. We've done this work already in this lifetime. We've worked with, I mean, I didn't come in with prejudice at all, even as a child. My work was fighting against people who were prejudiced. I had to learn to kind of see their point of view. So yes, we've done that work. And as you say, you come to the point where you become someone who holds a unity paradigm. You work within the law of one in your own lifetime, in your own reality, and you stand within that unity consciousness. So when you are faced with this fragmented polarity consciousness, you have to try to remember what it's like, as you say, move back into the place of the way those individuals think. And it is a third dimensional consciousness and somewhat fourth. We are thinking with a fifth dimensional unity consciousness. So it does become alien to us. Obviously, we have to try to understand everyone else's point of view. And I very much have done this. And I, you know, look at the Black community and I can completely understand why they feel the way that they do. What's actually happened is the cabal know this. So they are thinking, how can we divide humanity? Because we do not want humanity coming together as a unified whole. The last thing they want is an independent unity. What they want is a uniformity where everyone is, you know, assimilated and is the same, like a sort of a Borg mind. Exactly. They don't want this independent unity. So how can they create this division? What can we do to trigger groups of people? So let's trigger the Black community. You know, let's trigger the differences in gender in the LGBT community. I mean, that'll be the next thing. They're not going to leave that out. That will be the next thing that will come up if it hasn't already started. So these are programs on the third dimension, and they have a fourth dimensional sort of shadow aspect to them. Individuals who are moving forward in enlightenment and evolution and moving towards an ascension path and this whole new earth reality, they don't hold those opinions and beliefs. They are in a unity consciousness. So when you say to someone in unity consciousness, you know, would you not accept a Black person on your, you know, on your channel, on your, you know, on your group or whatever, it's like, why would you even need to ask the question? And I understand that people obviously are not seeing clearly what unity consciousness is. Yes. Also, you do have people that are out there to bring down the light workers. They don't want the leaders, the light workers, the starseeds, the truthers. They don't want us out speaking the truth. They want to shut us down. So obviously people are going to be out there on social media, hijacking every single individual who looks like they have a following of any kind. So, you know, we have those attacks coming as well. And I think what you said, you refuse to sort of go there. The whole, you know, white privilege to me, I mean, Laura said something really profound, really, on the show that I did with her. Where is the privilege? Who is privileged? Every single person comes into this reality with many lessons to learn, and that will include moving into a suffering scenario in order for them to grow. There is no such thing as any person of any color or any gender or any religion or any race who is privileged, unless you want to look at the cabal families and the royal families, and even they aren't privileged in the sense that they've been abused and mind controlled themselves.
Absolutely.
But other than the cabal, who have perhaps financial privilege and wealth and abundance in their lives in a third dimensional sense, where is the privilege? You don't get privilege when you're born. Privilege isn't even something that you create. It's more about unity and abundance. There may well be some people who have grown up in what appears to be a privileged, you know, life, and perhaps they haven't suffered the hardships, but that's really only on the outside looking in. If you actually look at every single human being, all of them will have had their own challenges to meet. So white privilege is supposed to mean someone who has the privilege of not understanding what it's like to be Black and all of the prejudices that they have had to deal with. Well, a spiritually aware individual working with unity, fifth dimensional consciousness, will have become aware of their past lives, and they will become aware that they have actually experienced those lifetimes, which is what you said and what I discussed on the interview I did with Laura and Patricia. We've had past lives of other ethnicities. We have been persecuted. We do understand that. But even if we didn't understand that, okay, so you could perhaps say white privilege because you don't understand what it's like to be black and what we've had to go through. Well, what about gender privilege? You know, if you're a heterosexual person who's been born in the right gender body, then you don't know what a transgender individual has gone through. You don't know what a homosexual individual has gone through. So is there gender privilege as well? I mean, how privileged are we supposed to be? It's just a program. It's a cabal-controlled third dimensional program. And what I would say to anyone listening to our interview right now is, don't fall for this. Don't fall for this third dimensional program. Rise above this, because it's there to trap you.
Absolutely. And like the whole sort of like Black Lives Matter movement, in my opinion, is an absolute antithesis to the awakening path. Because the fact of the matter is, it's like we've all, as I said before, sat at the feet of Mother, Father, God, and we've made our life plan and our destiny. And as Laura said, that is going to take us into suffering for many of us, so that we can then rise, so that we can then awaken. And it's ultimately, we are awakening out of victim consciousness. Every single one of us have been done, like Cabal has done a number on every one of us, me, you, Black brothers and sisters, everyone on this earth. The Cabal has tried to manipulate and has indoctrinated every single aspect of society with their demonic programming. And as we're all such beautiful divine beings, we've just sucked it up, because we thought our government was okay. We thought they were good guys, and so we absorbed it all. We absorbed all the pain, all the lies, all the illusion. And so every single one of us have had to burn. Like, if we're on the awakening enlightenment path, we have to go into the fire, and we have to burn off our ego, and we have to burn off this victim identity. Whether you're black, white, flipping Japanese, Chinese, whatever, we all have a soul, and the soul does not have a race. And every single one of us are, you know, whether you are aware of it or not, you are here to expand your evolution and ultimately to awaken, to ascend, whether you are aware of that or not. And so what we all have to realize, you have to come out of this 3D narrative, this Cabal controlled 3D narrative, to understand that everybody is a victim until they awaken in their own consciousness. And this is what me and Liam have been talking a lot about, this, because Liam's quite a lot younger than me, and I've been on the path a lot longer. And so this comes up with us, that, you know, where this victim consciousness, it's so hooky, but we've all got it. And that's all I hear in the Black Lives Matter movement: victim, 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 victim. And it's like, you know what? That does not impress me. The idea of you attaching to your victim identity, like, that's not where it's at. And that is sort of like an antithesis to your spiritual evolutionary path. In fact, you're on a dissension path. You're on a like major, like minus 3D, like lower 3D ascension path. And so hopefully, like, this conversation is gonna, like, you know, help people wake up and to come out of that narrative, and to understand that the Cabal hates all of humanity. They hate all of humanity. And we've all been controlled. And until, like, you know, I didn't have any teachers, I didn't have anyone to guide me. I had to burn in my own hell to wake up. I had to, like, it was so intense. And so it's like everyone has to do that. I didn't have any privilege. Like, I come from a line of heavy duty sexual abuse. I come from a line of poverty, extreme poverty, where my grandmother left Ireland. She left Ireland like bare feet. She was abused. She was seriously abused her whole life by all her family. And she walked from barefoot from England to Ireland. She got to England with nothing. She met my grandfather. He was an abuser. He was abused. He went on to abuse all his children. How is that white privilege? That's not white privilege. I have not had 1 second of white privilege. in my life. And I refuse to take any projection of that. I've definitely experienced prejudice being a woman. I've experienced a shit ton of prejudice being a woman. I've traveled in India, I've traveled in Northern Africa, I've traveled in Indonesia, where I have not felt safe as a woman. And in fact, I think that is really a much, much deeper issue, Magenta. I don't really think racism is the big topic of the biggest problem on our planet right now, because when you go to these countries of like Africa, India, the way men of color treat their women is absolutely deplorable, utterly and completely deplorable on the whole. Like, they abuse them, they have no respect, they're second-class citizens. Like, this is a real issue. Do you know what I mean? And I really, really think that this whole movement is just absolutely just distracting everyone from
Yes.
the real issues that are going on right now.
Yes, it's an absolute distraction. And I agree with everything you said. And I too have had that kind of growing up, or maybe not the same, but in my own way.
Yeah.
It's not something I talk about, because when I got online, I thought, well, I'm talking about the messages I receive from the Nine and how to move forward. I'm not here to share my past necessarily. Yeah. There are others doing that, but that doesn't mean that I have had a privileged life, but in respects, there are areas of privilege, and there's certainly guidance. You might not recognize it at the time, but that's there for every single soul on earth. So this is a cabal program, and any of these atrocities that are committed from one human to another, everything has been hijacked from thousands of years ago. It's gone down the ancestral line. So where we are right now from a spiritual point of view is a huge cleansing and clearing of these ancestral programs, because we can't go forward into a new earth society. I mean, you mentioned about the galactics, and you were saying how being black in a galactic society is rare. I must admit, I haven't actually received that information myself. What I've received is that there is such diversity within the galactic sphere that, you know, the diversity here on earth is like 1% of the diversity within the galactic reality. So I mean, you have extraterrestrials of every kind of gender you can imagine. There's more than just two. Even though there is two as a blueprint, there is a spectrum within that of choice as to how you want to express that gender. And there's androgyny, and then when it comes to color, there are extraterrestrials with every color you can possibly imagine. It's not just, you know, the ethnicities that we have on earth. We have, you know, green skin, pink, blue, turquoise, luminescent, you know, fur, scales, feathers. I mean, you know, you name it. And there are entities that do not even look human, that are still benevolent entities that have no body as such. I mean, you know, we are moving into a galactic society, and it is about diversity on an abundant scale. So we're working everything out. But if we were left alone to work everything out without cabal influence, then we wouldn't have this level of chaos and this level of hatred and anger amongst humanity, whereas one section of humanity hates another section of humanity. We would have evolved in a very different way. However, the cabal themselves do and their actions do act as catalysts to our awakening. There are other types of catalysts to our awakening, and we could have created those ourselves, but that's a whole other earth and a whole other timeline. But I think the most important thing is for people to stop and think, okay, I'm being deeply triggered right now, either by gender or race or whatever it may be. And have a look and think, well, is that ultimately infiltration of your own sovereignty? And you will find that it is, because it always is. Your own sovereignty can't be triggered. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to be triggered, because, you know, we are. This is a very difficult journey coming into the third dimension on Earth anyway, let alone what is happening right now.
Absolutely. And I wrote a post yesterday, and I got a download from Spirit, and I was shown so clearly that the cabal know that this great awakening is happening, this solar flash, the wave, that it is really, really happening. And on a galactic level, there are new energies coming into the earth that they just cannot control. And so this is why they are spending every single second of every single day gaslighting, confusing, abusing and terrorizing humanity. And this to me is proof that we really, really are in the final home stretch of the Great Awakening. Because why are they working 24/7 to confuse and terrorize us if they didn't know that something very, very, very wonderful is imminent for the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, what you've just said is the absolute crux of it. You're spot on. They're fully aware of what is coming. They can't stop it. They're trying to find ways to stop it. They're trying to find ways to prevent it. I mean, one of the things they would have seen when they had that looking glass technology, which we talked about last time, is the uprising of humanity. And what that would have looked like is people taking to the streets and protesting. But all of that in that timeline was organic and not infiltrated. So what they've gone and done is thought, well, how can we prevent that from happening? Because that uprising creates the Great Awakening and it creates their downfall. So what can we do to try to mitigate that? I know we'll create our own uprising. We will fuel the uprising for a different course, and then that uprising will prevent this uprising. So that's what they've done. They've changed the timeline, the organic timeline, by creating a new false uprising. Having said all of that, it still isn't going to prevent the eventuality that you're talking about, as you said, whether it's a solar flash or a super wave or a series of cosmic events or whatever it may be, the blasting open of everyone's pineal gland across the globe, whatever it is, that can't be prevented. I mean, it simply cannot. It is a core structure. It's a oh gosh, I've forgotten the word now. It's not eventuality, inevitability. It's an inevitability. That's it. It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. Exactly. So victory to the light. And like, I'm praying like that as many of our brothers and sisters awaken to their sovereignty. And so much of the alignment of this timeline is directly connected to the amount of individuals who awaken and who remember their sovereignty and who remember their glory and their regality, and the fact that we are all of this royal bloodline because we are direct descendants of Mother, Father, God. And that is every single one of us in creation. And we must all celebrate this wonderful gift of creation. And my prayer is for everyone that's listening to, and if you have anyone in your life, because I'm sure that everyone's pretty red-pilled and woke who's going to listen to us, but if you happen to have any people that are like buying into the narrative of this victim BS, to please remind your brothers and sisters of their glory and their sovereignty and their innate power, which is their birthright. And to please remind everyone that it is absolutely imperative that as many of us as possible awaken right now, and to realize that the deep state has been the enemy of humanity, and humanity is not against each other. When you see children, like I posted this beautiful thing yesterday of these two little girls, and one was a little girl with dark skin and white and a white girl, and they were crying, and I
saw that.
See it, and it made me cry so much, because that is the truth. Like in our souls, we don't see race. We don't see race. We just see vibration. We see love. We see connection. We see soul contracts. We see soulmates. That's what we see when we meet anyone. It's like, oh, is that a soulmate? Have I made a soul contract with you to expand in love in this lifetime? And so that is my prayer, is that everyone stop feeding this victim narrative, because this is keeping us collectively entrenched in the 3D quagmire, and we must get out of the 3D quagmire, and we as humanity need to do our part. This is very, very important. And I think part of the cabal indoctrination has been such a feeding us this program of disempowerment that somehow we must wait for permission for someone to say, yep, you're a sovereign being, yep, you are a queen, you are a king, like, you know, put your crown on. It's never going to happen. You have to claim your own sovereignty. I had to claim my own sovereignty. There was not a single awake person in my reality that could recognize me as the divine daughter of God that I am. I had to burn. I had to go into the fire and allow all my victim programs to burn in the fire of truth. And then through that, I attained that clarity and remembrance of my perpetual sovereignty. And so may we all remember, may we all stop waiting for your twin flame, stop waiting for a guru, stop waiting for anyone to recognize and validate you. You must recognize and validate your own divine connection. And that is the truth. And every single one of us that are incarnated will awaken to that at some point. You may as well awaken to it now.
Yeah, totally. You use very different metaphors to me. However, I understand your metaphors and I completely agree. I might use different ones myself, but I completely agree with everything you're saying. And I did see what you posted, and it reminded me of my own childhood, because my best friend was a black girl when I was really, really young, and I used to cuddle her and I used to love her and I used to look for her when I got to the classroom, and I used to come home and tell my mum I wanted my hair done like this little girl and I wanted to wear the same clothes as her. And my mum had to sit me down and say, you know, you're not a black girl, your hair isn't the same, you can't have the hairstyle, because she had a different kind of hair and I wanted my hair like her and it was completely different. And you know, so I just loved her, and I was so young. I mean, this was infant school. I mean, I was 4 or 5, so my own past life stuff came in. I've worked through this stuff in other lifetimes, so I came in with no prejudices at all on anything. And it's like with gender. If I I've been to groups before, and there was a transgender lady who joined our group, and it was a spiritual group, and everyone was nice to her. So obviously, it's somewhere that she would be accepted, because you know there aren't that many prejudiced people in the spiritual communities, or so you would certainly hope. But I would go out of my way to go and sit next to her and talk to her and make her feel included. So I've always been like that. And it is difficult for us who have that mindset to actually look at the mindset of others. And it's not only difficult, I mean, it doesn't necessarily trigger me with anger anymore, but it makes me feel sad when I see somebody who's still stuck in this way of thinking. And of course, the trigger that's occurring now is bringing that out in people.
Yeah.
No, it's either making them guilty. I've had a white lady say to me, who I know really well, do you think I might be racist? I'm like, why do you think you're racist? She goes, well, I've never really thought about it before, and I don't really, you know, it's not anything that's really crossed my mind. So does that mean I'm racist because I haven't thought about it? And I said, well, no, that makes you not racist, because you don't notice skin color. It's not because you're color blind. It's because it's not in you. And I had to bring her back to her sovereignty and make her realize that she's not racist. So if somebody can start thinking, am I racist? I mean, that's the cabal doing their job.
Absolutely. And I know what I said earlier, like, you know, this is between me and God. And I've had, like, you know, in my sort of telepathic way, I've made a deal that if I ever encounter racism or prejudice on any level, I will speak up. I will intervene. I will not tolerate it. And I think that, and if anything good can come out of this BLM, it's that, you know, that we don't stay silent if we do happen to encounter some prejudice or racism, that we do become an advocate. And I think that most of our sort of quite sort of like black brothers and sisters that are not really sort of bought into the movement. I think that is what they do want that to come out of it. I do feel that. And I think it's really important for us to be having a very calm and very mature conversation about how we can make this world more beautiful for each other. And again, it's on an individual level that I've made a pact with my higher self, with my team, that if I ever encounter racism on any level, I will step up. I will be a voice for that vulnerable person. And I think every single one of us alive has to make that pact, whether it could be, you know, as you said, like a transgender person, a gay person, any person that is perceived as vulnerable in a situation. I feel that we all have a duty to speak up and to, you know, not be silent. I think it's very, very important that we don't remain silent. But that's the only kind of good thing that I can see coming out of this movement, because of course there is going to be some light that will come out of it. Yeah. You got any thoughts?
Because it's backfiring. Well, everything that they're doing is backfiring on them. So there will be more unity and more understanding of prejudice coming out of this in certain groups and in people. I mean, when it comes to staying silent, I know people that stay silent because they're scared, they're frightened, because they dare mention anything to do with racism right now. And it's such a hot topic that they're frightened. I mean, I had a friend say to me, I don't know how you can go on you know, on YouTube and do an interview or a chat and even discuss this. You know, I'd be terrified to do that. And I said, well, I've been doing this online for 12 years and I've been speaking about far more controversial things. I mean, it's all the same thing to me. I had a friend say to me who's known me for many, many years. And it's the first time I'd seen her since lockdown, because obviously we couldn't see friends. I've been catching up with family first. So I went to see friends for the first time. And she said, you've really changed since I last saw you. And I said, how? And she said, you used to be so positive and now you're really negative, you're really dark, and you're actually really scary. And I said, I'm glad you've said this to me, and let me explain that I haven't actually changed. I'm the same that I've always been. The difference is when I meet you, you're not into all of this, you know, third dimensional individuals. So when I meet up with you, I keep all that stuff separate from you. I don't talk about the cabal agenda and all of the dark control. We just talk about, you know, our family and our children and our pets and the weather and all the superficial stuff and our nails and our hair, because I can't have those kind of conversations with them. So they see the positive side of me because I do discuss, you know, hypnosis and meditation and yoga. But why would I even consider bringing the dark stuff into their reality? Because they aren't ready to come across that. It's not for me to force it on them. I said, but now it's in your face. And she's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, what's going on? And she couldn't understand what the connection between virus and lockdown and riots and racism, what's that got to do with my work? I said, well, that's what I've been doing. You know, I've been trying to explain that I haven't changed. And I think that that might be the case for many, many light workers right now. If people are going to think, well, all of a sudden you're talking about dark, negative things. We've always known about this. It's just that now we've always known that at some point the cabal would begin to implement these new world order strategies, but we didn't know when it would actually come into the physical. We knew it was somewhere around 2012, when we've been expecting it, and at the same time we have this great awakening, and we weren't sure how the great awakening would take place. I mean, some people obviously did pick up that it would be due to healthcare or due to a virus, or, you know, that we might have to stay in our homes. I didn't pick those things up.
Oh, I didn't.
Not at all. But the minute it occurred, literally that day, the 9 was saying this is the attempted planetary takeover, and that March 21st, the spring equinox of 2020, was day 1 of this new reality where things have changed. My friend said to me, the reason why I don't like hearing all this is because I can't live. I can't live properly. I want to have a life. I want to wake up in the morning looking forward to the day and feeling happy, and going to bed at night feeling really happy because I've had a wonderful day. And I said, exactly. You've just hit the nail on the head. And she said, but you're taking that away from me by talking about all this. And I said, no, I'm not taking it away from you. The cabal are the ones that are doing this. They don't want us to have that live. That's what I mean, that life. That's what I mean by independent sovereignty, where you do wake up in the morning and feel joyful, and you go to bed at night feeling amazing. You can find that as a spiritually aware individual. And the 9 have told me the way to do that is to not react to your outside environment. Because humans are naturally reactionary, we are to react to our inner environments, and our inner environments are of our own making. But that isn't something we can do overnight. It's something we have to learn. But many of us have already created beautiful inner environments with fields and crystal palaces and lovely hyperspace worlds. So that's where we are reacting. But it doesn't mean we're not going to react to the outside world at some point, because we will. So I was trying to explain to my friend that what I'm trying to do, and people like me, the truthers, the light workers, people like me, what we're trying to do is preserve that joy and that happiness in humanity, so that you can wake up every morning and feel happy, and you can go to bed at night feeling fulfilled because you've had a wonderful day and you're moving forward and you're achieving your goals when it comes to relationships or your home, or you know, your knowledge, your learning, whatever it may be. We're trying to preserve that. That's life. And the cabal structure are an anti-life structure.
Yes.
So they are wanting to take that away, because they can't control us as a hive mind community if we have this this life force within us. They want to dampen down the life force, because the life force is the reconstruction of the DNA template. They want to keep us within the double helix, because they can't thrive, they can't have their sustenance. So that's why they're doing everything they can to avoid this inevitability, which really all they can do is delay it. But the interim period between now and when the inevitability comes, that's the bit that is going to be potentially challenging. And there are multiple different ways that interim period can play out. So that's kind of what we're working with right now. We know that there's an inevitability. We know that there's a great awakening. We know we're moving into our plasma light bodies, and that we are creating a new earth. We don't, there's no doubt on that. But it's this interim period between now and then, this sort of fourth dimensional bridge, which is what it is, the fourth dimensional sort of focus that we're in. This kind of dark night of the soul reality. It's like all these different realities, because everyone is vying for the focused consciousness that creates the realities within that interim period. So the cabal are working on the consciousness and all the hijacking, and they have much power still. It's not as if they are totally and utterly broken. However, they're not where they wanted to be, and they're not where they intended to be. And the core structure is broken. They're having to use these backup generators. These are the metaphors the 9 use. So the core structure is very tied up with the presidency, the American presidency. Yes. That's hugely part of the core structure, because they set up the presidency with all these little loopholes, all these little legal sort of threads everywhere. I mean, I don't know what they are, so I have to use metaphor. And it was set up for a cabal president so that they could step in and continue and to start to implement all of these laws and all of this red tape that they tied up so intricately with the justice system and the political system across the world, and the New World Order movement and the One World government and everything else. It's all tied up from the seat of the American presidency. Yes, there are other countries and other political leaders that are significant, but not as much as the American presidency. That's the #1 spot. And of course, we know that a non-cabal person took that place. Yay! Why? Because the consciousness, our consciousness created it.
Absolutely.
We created it. We didn't want the cabal. That's how we did it. But that doesn't mean that it's done and dusted and it's over and it's in the bag. Yes, it is regarding the inevitability, absolutely. But we've still got to get there. However, that's the core structure, or part of the core structure, that's now gone. And they want it back. That's what all this is about.
Absolutely. And it's like what I've been shown by my team is that this whole 5D timeline, it already exists, but it's a case of enough individuals attaining fifth dimensional consciousness and being awake that is going to then lift the collective timeline in alignment with the already established fifth dimensional timeline. Yeah. And so this is why, and it's interesting what you said, because I created my group. The event is officially happening 2 years ago, and it became viral. Like in 3 months I had like 25,000 people join, and I was guided to create a fifth dimensional temple space where it wasn't, we weren't going to speak about conspiracies, we weren't going to speak about anything that's related to duality. We were going to just create an online platform that was going to entrain everyone to attune to fifth dimensional consciousness. And I maintained that consistently for 2 years, and it was absolutely incredible. And it was, it changed so many people's lives because they'd never been part of such a sacred community, especially online, because it was managed so well. Like, we don't allow any abuse from any members. Like, we have a zero tolerance policy to abuse. And so what happened was, when the shit hit the fan with the event, the Great Awakening, my team were like, we need you, Jen, to be red pilling the masses now. We need you to take your emphasis away from just only perpetuating that fifth dimensional timeline. And there are a lot of people that are not awake. And in order for us to align with this 5D timeline, which is already established, we need as many brothers and sisters on this planet awake as possible. And a lot of that was to do with Donald Trump's role, because obviously the media had done they spent like about, I don't know, like £100 billion on AI, trying to program everyone that he was like part of the dark side. And so I just sort of like, I changed my tact, and so exactly the same thing happened with me. People were like, Jen, and I know that you responded on one of my posts when someone was like, Jen, you only used to post like really positive, high vibe things. Yeah. And you were like, well, Jen is a light worker. She's a true light worker, and a true light worker exposes the shadow side. Like, that's a true light worker. Is we're not bypassing anything. We're going to talk about truth. We're going to talk about the children. We're going to talk about the satanic pedophiles. We're going to go in there and we're going to shine a light in these areas where there has been no light. And in that process, we're going to awaken you to who Donald Trump really, really is. And the fact that we all manifested him. We all absolutely manifested him. And he is a reflection of the great, great work so many of us awakened ones have done, that we've actually manifested such a powerful leader that cares so deeply about all of us and cares so deeply about humanity. So a lot of my red pilling has been around his particular role, and I know that I've shifted so many people and helped, as you have. Oh my God, as you have. Because people trust us, and they trust our connection with source and the messages that we're bringing through. So what was I say? Duty to awaken. Yeah, and I think that have you got anything to respond to that, Magenta?
Well, only to say that really it's about getting the balance, because you don't want to go too dark with someone.
Oh no, I didn't.
You definitely didn't, but
yeah.
I sometimes feel, maybe not when I'm doing videos or interviews, but with my friends, I think I forget that they're completely not awakened on it. I've got several friends and they're all awakened in different ways, but there are several that are not awakened at all and are specifically turning away from that. And I sometimes forget, and I'll talk about something that's really dark. I mean, I haven't gone as far as, the whole sort of the children thing. I haven't even touched on that, but things to do with what's going on now. And to me, it's such everyday knowledge. And then I'll be surprised when they sit there and they're, really freaked out by something I've said. I said, oh, what did I say that's upset you? And they'll explain, and I'll think, gosh, I have to keep remembering what it's like to be not awake, and it's
Yeah,
difficult.
it's difficult.
To try to find the balance, and then think, let's start talking about the power of the mind, the power of the consciousness. Because when I've got friends telling me I'm dark and negative, I'll say, but that's not my only belief. It's like, it's not even a belief. That's not my only topic of conversation. But you were saying about how you started off for 2 years keeping everything light. When I started the YouTube channel, my intention was to share my messages from the 9, which were beautiful, about ascension, about 5th dimensional energy, the light body, love, DNA activation, unity, all of those things. I had no intention of discussing anything dark, because I hadn't really even looked at it that much, to be honest with you. It was the 9 that started bringing it through, and they did it very gently, because they were waking me up at the same time as waking up people, or maybe not waking up people, but for me, they were waking me up through the messages. And the very first message I ever released on YouTube in 2008, April 2008, so I'm bringing forward all of this, and they're talking about the ascension, and I remember they said, there are those who would halt your ascension, who would aim to halt your ascension. And I remember stopping, thinking, what? Why would somebody not want us to ascend? I don't understand. So this is like 2008, and obviously I would then question the 9. Who would not want us to ascend, and why wouldn't they want us to ascend? Then they'd talk to me. So obviously that awakening to darkness occurred organically with me as I started to release, and much of the teachings that I've had have come when I've been writing the books, transcribing the books, and writing the videos. So sometimes the 9 will speak to me ahead of time, but sometimes the first I hear of something is as I'm bringing forward information for a video or a book. Wow. Especially the books. It's been a real learning curve. So I'm kind of learning along with everybody else in the same way that everyone who receives the messages do. It's like, so yes, it's finding that balance. And with friends who are awake, they've got their own balance. You don't need to try to make sure that you're bringing in all the light information. Yeah, so when I see my friends, I sometimes forget what I'm saying, and I have to be aware. And it's difficult because some of my friends have questions that they want to know the answers, and others don't want to talk about it at all. So it's good training. So I think, finding the balance for yourself, as well as when it comes to delivering information to people, because if you're just talking about all the negative stuff, I think when you're 5th dimensionally aware, you can handle that, and you've had training to handle it. So I can actually be looking at dark information and negative information for hours on end without it affecting me. But it did affect me in the beginning when the 9 first started to bring me into this information, and I would spend time having to, reassimilate and get back to balance. So I need to remember, I guess, when I see my friends, that that's where they are. They're not able to handle this overload of negative information at the same level that I am, or that you would be, or that anyone who's 5th dimensionally aware would be. But I'm not sure if you wanted to carry on talking about anything to do with this subject. What I did want to say is, since I spoke to you last, I have had so many people write to me about the whole royal family and the Gregory Pallet thing. And, I've been asked this question. I cannot believe how many people have wanted the response to this question. And like, please, Magenta, please, will you address this? Like, it's just so important to them. And I understand, obviously, it is. But what I've replied to several people is, you and I, we agreed that we would discuss it on the next show that we did together, the next interview we did together. So I've said I will discuss this when I next speak to Jen. So that's what I've told loads of people. So they're waiting for our interview.
They are. So okay. So my feeling on the matter is that I saw that Raven Moon Star where she, have you seen that video? And
it's been sent to me about 100 times, so I had to watch it in the end. Yeah.
So
it was very good. It was very good video. Yeah.
It was. And when I saw that video, I got a little bit excited. I got a little sort of wave excitement that something is shifting within that archaic structure. I was like, oh, it's kind of exciting. And then I kind of reached out to Greg and
oh, you did? Oh, right.
I did. And he wasn't very honouring of our connection, and I asked him for an interview, and he kind of like fobbed me off, and then he was doing an interview with someone that doesn't have any sort of platform whatsoever, and I felt a little bit kind of like disrespected on some level by him. I then went and looked a little bit further into the situation, and I saw a video by his mother and his sisters, and they were saying they absolutely debunked it, and they were like, he's not well, this is not true, and it doesn't make any sense, because if Greg was the next in line and was a descendant of Anne Boleyn, who's connected to the Merovingian Christ bloodline, what about his older brother? I could not, for the absolute living life of me, work out why his elder brother isn't meant to be the king, because that's how it all goes. Like it's meant to be like the eldest son. And so I reached out to him and I asked him to clarify about that, because a lot of people were really like donating a lot of money to him and stuff. And I was like, Greg, there's a lot of people supporting you, but there's this one thing that just doesn't add up. Please, can you explain? And I didn't really get an explanation from him. And so when I look at it from a sort of like intuitive level, like I don't get a yes in my body around him being the new king, and I feel that I don't know, what am I trying to say? I feel like the truth of the matter is we don't flipping need a monarchy. Like, we just don't need one. We don't want one. It is an antithesis to fifth dimensional culture and consciousness to have someone as being a separate entity. And the fact of the matter is we're all sovereign. Like, we're all kings, we're all queens, and we are all of the blood of the royal bloodline. And when you awaken, you absolutely know that. And so to me, this whole idea and concept, for me, it just keeps everyone locked into this third dimensional timeline, and so is an antithesis to the ascension trajectory. And but on the other hand, I do see massive shifts happening within the royal family, and I see that part of this changing of the guard, which we witnessed with Donald Trump coming over to England last, was it July, and he walked in front of the Queen, and he had all his American military in the position where the UK military would normally be. That was very, very symbolic that there has been a changing of the guard in terms of the dark hats and the white hats. So I definitely am witnessing the breakdown of that archaic structure that was known as the monarchy, which is a wonderful thing, which is a great thing, because I feel that the monarchy have been the most heinous aspects of the cabal, along with the Vatican, and they have stolen humanity's vast amounts of wealth. And so the collapse of this structure can only benefit us as individual sovereign beings. I feel that the whole kind of like narrative around Greg is sort of like just introducing this idea of a shift and a transformation within the monarchy, but it isn't actually where we're going. I could be wrong, and I'm fine if I'm wrong. I can only just share what my intuition says. And but I think this whole idea of Greg, it's showing people that something is shifted, and something has shifted. And I don't know if you saw that little video of Prince Charles the other day, but that was not Prince Charles. Like, it was not Prince Charles. It was a double. It was an absolute, complete and utter double. It wasn't even a clone. I think it was a double. And so you know, and a lot of the sort of like Q posts have kind of like pointed to the fact that they're gone. The royal family is now gone, and so then seeing Prince Charles, and it's clearly not Prince Charles, that then proves this notion that it's over, and all that we're seeing at the moment is optics.
Well, it's interesting to discuss this today because it's actually the Queen's official birthday today.
Ooh.
You know, she has
she has two. Oh,
she was born in April, and then she has an official birthday, which is June the 13th. She was actually on television this morning. Whether was filmed ages ago, or whether it's you know, a superimposed piece of film, or whether it was live, I don't know. I think, you know, what I'm getting, and I've been speaking to the Nine about this, and whenever I talk to the Nine about something that is not necessarily relevant to the ascension process, they will actually tell me. So as I said, I've had all these people ask me these questions over the last 2.5 weeks. Had this been an incredibly relevant piece of information, I would have got that information out as soon as possible. Yeah. Anything that's highly relevant, I get it out as soon as I can. So it isn't. What I'm about to say is very similar to what you said, with a few little sort of slight nuances of difference, really. And that is, the Nine have said to me, when it comes to the royal bloodline, there are several people who potentially could have a claim to the British throne, because there are certain presentations of the royal bloodline that isn't necessarily accurate, or things that happened that shouldn't have happened, making that particular branch of the bloodline have a claim to the throne. So having said all of that, and I think that, you know, there are a few people that could, if they wanted to, step forward and say, look, I have a claim to the British throne because of this. Now, as we know, we have a cabal-controlled structure regarding the royal family. And I'm speaking here specifically of the UK royal family. There are other royal families that actually have started to manifest light. The UK royal family has, when Princess Diana came in, she brought Starseed light into her part of the bloodline, and there are other relatives that are sort of not as close to the actual royal family that are still royal related, where light and starseed energy is coming in. So that's all happening. So yes, there are a few people that could step up and make a claim. Gregory Hallett specifically, whether or not he has an actual claim, he may well do. The Nine haven't told me that he has. They've just said that several people have. In fact, they haven't commented on him specifically. In fact, what they did say is there is a woman in Scotland with a very high claim to the British throne. Now, whether she will actually step up and take that or not remains to be seen. It may or may not be in the timeline, but she has a strong claim. The Nine have told me about a woman in Scotland who's related to the royal family already, and she may or may not ever come forward. So psychically looking at Gregory Hallett, what I'm feeling with him is he will actually have a following. There will be people, quite a substantial amount of people, who absolutely honour him as the king of the UK, as the King of England. So they may well form a small little court where they treat him as the king. So he may move into that potentially. That's a potential, and that's kind of building now.
Yeah.
Do I see him actually taking the British throne? I have to say, I'm not seeing that in the timelines at all. But there is definitely the potential for this court, this smaller court that may have some influence somewhere. But it's a small section. It isn't the actual British throne that I'm seeing. And like you, I could be wrong, but I don't see it in the timelines. Then the Nine came in to tell me basically everything that you have said. In the New Earth reality, there is no hierarchical structure where you have a royal family and you have subjects. That's not how the organic reality works. That's not New Earth, and that's not the fifth dimension. The royal individuals are those who hold the royal code, which is an indigo code. It has other colors to it, but it is a warrior spirit. It is a psychic code. It is a code that gives you the ability to radiate your DNA frequency for others to catch. So it's an activation code, and it's a code of service. You are, as a royal, you are in service to the whole. You put the whole not above you, but as you, as equal to you. Yes. And so in the fifth dimension, that is the code that everyone holds in the fifth dimension, because it's a unity structure. So everyone is royal in the new earth. We're all princes, princesses, queens, kings, whatever. You choose your royal form. So there won't be, that doesn't mean that in the interim period from now until new earth is established, we have this interim fourth dimensional dark night to the soul journey to go through. In that interim period, there may well be a challenge to the British throne. As long as the cabal is in power, I can't see that challenge being taken seriously. But when it comes to the royal family themselves, there is a definite change already and a restructuring. Something has occurred. There's some kind of legality, some kind of treaty, some kind of agreements being made behind the scenes. And the Queen herself has, I feel, her energetic is stepped back from where it was. So she was stepped, I am the Queen of, you know, the UK, I'm the Queen of England. And it was, she was fitting into that slot. And now she's taken a few steps back. Yeah. Like, it looks as though she's possibly stepping back and maybe abdicating so that Charles can come forward. It may be that she has removed herself from the royal public domain, and that she's gone elsewhere, either to a different place of residence, or possibly underground or off planet even. It may even be that she's removed from the physical dimension, and what we saw on television this morning was filmed ages ago. I mean, the Nine will say to me, it's irrelevant, you know, what that actually means. What is relevant is the shifting and the changing and the reconstructing of the royal family, which is everything you said, which is absolutely beginning to happen and will absolutely begin to happen as the cabal structure falls. So that's basically what they told me. And the one thing that seems to be more significant is this Scottish female who potentially has quite a strong claim and would potentially, if she were to step forward, maybe her claim would be taken very seriously. However, my feeling is, tuning on this person as best as I can, which is only a very, very light awareness because she wishes to remain totally private, my guess is that she's not going to step forward. But she may. I mean, I'm aware of her, but there are others too. There's more. There's quite a few. I mean, when I say quite a few, I don't mean hundreds. We are looking at maybe, you know, a dozen or sort of half a dozen of people who have a claim. But Gregory Hallett, I'm definitely seeing a little court structure, and there may be things that he can do, and that is a positively polarized structure. It's not cabal, it's not negative, it's not nefarious, so it isn't harmful. And, you know, do I honor him as a person and what he wants to do? Absolutely. I honor everybody who's not cabal and who's working for the positive vibration and for the new earth. So it may be that Gregory Hallett has a place in the new earth, but when it comes to the royals in that new structure, that's everybody in the fifth dimension. They all hold the royal code.
Absolutely. And maybe, you know, Gregory sort of like stepping in is awakening many people to their sovereignty. You know? And like, hold on a minute, like, who are you? We don't need that. Like, we're all sovereign. We don't, like, it didn't work. Look what that has created. This idea of, you know, separation and monarchy has created such an unfair society where we've all been, you know, really treated horrendously, and maybe it's just awakening like a new wave of people to their sovereignty, which can only be a brilliantly wonderful thing. And I agree with you. It definitely does not seem nefarious. It just seems it just seems there's holes in the story. And because I'm such a highly intuitive person, you just can't pull the wool over my eyes. And so I'm very, very attuned to the places where there's gaps in the narrative, where a lot of people, they sort of like go along with it, go, yeah, woohoo, end of the monarchy, woohoo, let's get Greg in, woohoo. Like and that's all they sort of see. Like they just go along with that momentum and that excitement of, you know, that, oh wow, it's going to change. But I'm just like, it's not adding up. It's just not adding up. But
so I'm laughing at Liam laughing. He's making me laugh. I agree with you completely. Yes, I do. I do agree with you. You've got such a smile. It's funny. You're sat there behind her laughing. It's funny. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. And I think also what this may be doing is giving people hope that something is different than the actual royal structure that we have.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I think sometimes people have the tendency to latch on to anything that's different, which is a good thing because we want change.
Yeah.
But yes, Gregory Hallett himself, there's nothing nefarious there. There's no cabal infiltration. It's all genuine. And I think that he truly, you know, believes that he has a claim. He may well have a claim. He may well have a claim. But
he may well have a claim.
But there's a few that do. There's not just him. There are others that could step forward as well. And you know, the whole story is interesting, and it may be relevant for some people. It may be that you become part of that little court, and together you all do something really massive to help the whole movement.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about him being the king, but it may be about the group that he creates of the followers that he has. Together they join with the whole Starseed light worker movement. That's more what I'm seeing, you know, and everyone in that movement is welcome regardless of what their agenda is personally. They're still on the positively polarized side.
Yeah, but I think the idea of giving your power away to someone is so part of the old paradigm that we all really, really need to be aware of that, and you know, and just to try not to fall for it hook, line, and sinker, and to just to give it all away. And I deeply urge everyone to remember their perpetual sovereignty. That is my prayer, that as many of us remember that we don't need leaders, like we don't need governance. We are divine beings, and the governance is within our own heart and our own consciousness, our higher consciousness. And when you are truly awakened, then you are a force of profound healing in every second of your existence. And we all need to come home to that truth, that we don't, like, it's part of the lower timelines, it's the lower paradigms where we had this idea of a government and leaders. But of course we're in this intermittent period, and I think we're going from 3D to 5D, and we're kind of like 4D-tastic at the moment. And so things are shifting, things are kind of like getting moved, these really sort of stuck structures are getting moved around, which is all part of this 4D interim period. And I just think it's very important that everyone has that awareness, and that we're not there yet, like on a 5D level, because in fifth dimensional consciousness we're all leaders and we're all sovereign, and there isn't this silly idea of placing anyone with more power or influence or importance than you. Like, that is an illusion of the highest order. And Liam, have you got anything to say on that?
I do. Like, before Donald Trump got in, we couldn't have thought about anybody other than a dark person being the president of the United States. But then he got in, and like, we know we can trust him in that position, like regardless of what power he gets. Like, we know we're safe.
Yes.
But then maybe like somebody, like, all these positions are there to be filled, so maybe it will get filled by somebody, but we're all just going to be equal, and we're all just going to be like acting.
That could well be the case as well, that somebody does stand in as the monarch, but they embrace that same unity as in the interim period, as the structure changes, just because eventually eventually there won't be a president and there won't be governments eventually, but we're nowhere near that yet. No. So yes, I would say that and maybe that is Gregory Hallett's role. I'm not seeing him step into the monarch position in the way it is now, but as I said, I'm seeing the smaller court, so who knows where that will go.
Yeah, that really, really resonates. And I kept on hearing placement. He's a placement. And it's almost, yeah, it's like as we're shifting from 3D to 5D and shifting that old structure, he's sort of like a 4D placement. He's not like the real kind of like established like
No.
truth, but he's just holding that position during this transitionary period. That really resonates. And again, it could be Gregory, it could be these other people that you're tuning into that do have some sort of claim, but I think we just want to leave our listeners with, always want to leave them with that feeling of empowerment, and never ever like give your power away to anyone. Like, remember who you are. Please remember who you are and your divine source. And if you remember that, then it's just impossible to give your power away, because you know that is your power, is through source energy. And so everything I do, and I'm so driven to serve, because I pray that as many of my brothers and sisters remember this truth, because when you remember this truth, you just free yourself from the matrix. And when we're free from the matrix, we're back in our angelic consciousness, and that's what it's all about.
Totally. That's so beautiful. And you can't be hijacked from that place.
Can't be hijacked.
No.
And I've always felt so protected, because I've like stabilized in higher consciousness. I've always felt and I've experienced it directly, like you've witnessed how protected I am. It's absolutely phenomenal, because those lower energies and entities, like, they cannot touch you. If you vibrate at a high frequency, they've got nothing to hook into. It's only when we drop our frequency and lower our frequency through fear and illusion that those lower entities and thought forms can begin to hijack our consciousness. And so again, it's like the onus is always on us, the onus is on you. To all our listeners, like, you need to do the work. You need to burn your ego in the fire of the truth of the divine. You know, we all need to take this position. So and that is, yeah, that is my greatest prayer, and that is what motivates me to serve in the way I do.
And that's the safe zone as we go through this interim period. That's what will carry us through. You know, people ask where we'll be safe on Earth. It's not about a geological placement. Yes, there might be geological placements and certain lifestyles that are going to make you less of a target. But if the New World Order takeover moves into what they want, there is no place that's safe from that. So one goes within, one takes that sovereignty, moves into the synchronicity and the magic that occurs with that, because that hasn't changed. The law of magnetic attraction is still there. Just because we have this attempted planetary takeover going on, the law of attraction is still working, if anything, stronger than ever. We can still move into that magic. And I was talking earlier about waking up in the morning feeling happy and going to bed at night feeling accomplished. You can still have that now, even with all this going on. It's very difficult, and I'm not saying that somebody should bypass and just move into joy while there's all this going on, because we need to acknowledge the suffering and all of the things that are happening. But if you want to go to that place and find some solace for a couple of days, you can move yourself into that place by responding and reacting to the inner realms, which are already, the fifth dimensional Earth is already created within. We are bringing it, we're bringing it outside into the actual geological land that we're going to live. But right now it's there within in the hyperspace realities. And if we hold that and live within that, then it will and must manifest, because that's consciousness. And what I see is that consciousness is more powerful than any other, even a full super artificial intelligence consciousness. If the star seeds can come together in this telepathic union, that trumps everything.
Yes.
To use the word Trump. Trumps everything. That goes above everything. And it may even, and this is a new one the Nine have only just told me, it may even, and this isn't the definite, but it may be that the starseed consciousness could even not merge, but influence a super artificial intelligence program and shift that into a positive polarization.
Yeah.
So even with an AI module in our reality, it doesn't have to be a negative module. It can be a benevolent one
Yeah,
That's one of the potentials for
I
new
agree.
Earth, you know.
Yeah, that really resonates, actually. Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, that is the most important thing, that we trump we reach that level of consciousness where we trump those lower timelines and we stabilize. And, you know, how I stabilize, and we spoke about this in the last video, is by I really prioritize keeping my awareness as much as possible in the present moment, and noticing that, you know, like whatever happens in the present moment we can always deal with. We always have the tools. Even if someone was running towards you to attack you, you would have whatever it takes in that moment to be able to deal with that. And we only really our vibration really drops when we go into mind and go into fear, which is often related to future events. And so I think it's just so important for everyone that's listening to try and train yourself as much as possible to be in the present moment. And this is the 0 point field, and this is the access to our full multidimensionality, and all multiple dimensional timelines are accessed from the present moment, which is the 0 point field, which is our point of power. And we all have a duty to stabilize and align in that place. And the more of us that can do that, we will swiftly align with this collective fifth dimensional timeline. So I think it's really important that just to keep, you know, reminding everyone of how powerful we are. There's no victims. You are not a victim. You signed up. You're such a brave soul. You saw the shit show going on planet Earth, and you were like, sign me up, God. I'm going to do my bit. You're not a victim. You're just so powerful. The fact that you're incarnated at this time is so epic. Like every single one of us. And I know that there are billions and billions of souls, and even angels, that are jealous of us, that we have a physical vessel at this time in this great shift, that we are on the you know, we've got front row seats in this phenomenal ascension trajectory. And I feel that the energy is really massively building up now to this November, to the election, and we're going to see a lot of deep state intervention, and just everyone to just stay vigilant and to always look beyond the mainstream narrative. And I just want to let everyone know that I'm going to be facilitating a really powerful transmission next week, and it's going to be for the solstice, and it's going to be to counterbalance this Luciferian what they call marches. They've organized these Luciferian marches.
I've heard about
Have
that.
you heard?
Yeah.
Oh, Magenta, I'd love you to be part of this. It's so powerful. And so we're going to come together, and we're going to start, I feel really guided to work specifically with the mainstream media. Like, we need to collapse this archonic structure of the mainstream media, and we need the media now to come back into the hands of the white hats. And so that's going to be one aspect of the transmission, which is going to be next Sunday, the 21st. I was going to do it on the 20th, but I found out about this big, like all over America, they've got these big Luciferian marches. And so we're specifically going to be counterbalancing those intentions. And we know that when light workers come together and we align our intentions with our creator's intentions in order to serve humanity, then we are all powerful, and the darkness has no power. And also in the transmission, we're going to be working on assisting in the awakening of the next wave of sleepers, because all the time my team are showing me that this 5D collective timeline is intricately connected to the amount of awakened souls that we have stabilized on the planet. And so my team are like, we're gonna do some work now with that, and these people have made a soul contract. It's all deeply connected, but we're going to assist in the next wave of awakening. And there's going to be many other aspects, but I just want to let everyone know, because I just think it's so important that we all come together. I mean, I've been doing these transmissions for many years, and I get like 200, 300, 400 people, and it's so powerful, and it contributes so much to your evolution and to stabilize in higher consciousness. So I can't believe they're doing that.
No, I only found that out this morning. It's Father's Day as well, certainly in the UK.
Really?
I think it might be in the US as well, I'm not sure. So I'm wondering about a nice balanced, you know, patriarchal energy can be brought in for Father's Day. I'm actually not free on the 21st, but I totally, you know, support what you're doing and wish you much success. And
so powerful to do these group meditations, especially because I'm guiding it, and I really have, you know, I'm exited the matrix, and so there's no interference. It's really powerful. So
wonderful.
yeah, so really looking forward to doing this work for all of our brothers and sisters. And in the last transmission, we focused a lot on the police and dismantling the dark aspect of the police. And lo and behold, you know, we can see what's going on now. But again, it's just shifting. I think that the old way of how the police have sort of like treated humanity has got to evolve. It absolutely has got to evolve. And I think that what we are experiencing at the moment is that shift and transformation. And coincidentally, we happen to focus specifically on that on the 5-5 transmission. So it just proves is exceptionally powerful, this work. And I'm very honoured to be the facilitator.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So do you feel like we've covered everything, Magenta? Have you got something to say?
Got to talk about Robbie Williams.
Oh, we've got something to tell you. Guess what? Robbie Williams is totally totes woke. He's totes woke.
I already knew that he was.
Did you?
Yeah. I tell you what, many years ago, I don't know how many, but he was talking, I saw him talk about UFOs. This is going back, oh gosh, this must be about 5 years, maybe even more. And I thought then he's awake. But it's obviously not something he's gone public with. So yeah, I did know he was, yeah.
Oh my God, we saw this video of him the other night, and it just, it moved us so deeply, didn't it? We were like sobbing. We were like, oh my God, Robbie's on our team. He's like totally awake. He's like all about red pilling.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
He's totally independent and of the light.
He is.
And not cabal. Yes, I did know he was.
I'm going to send you that video.
Celebrities, they just haven't stepped forward yet, and they will. I mean, there's I mean, in the UK, I don't know if you ever watched Coronation Street.
You?
I don't now, but I did years ago. Have you ever watched it?
No, I did years and years ago.
Obviously not anymore. But William Roach is awake.
Oh, is he?
Oh my goodness.
Ken Roach.
Yeah.
What was his name
William
in it?
Roach, isn't it?
William Roach.
Yeah,
Ken Barlow.
He plays Ken Barlow. Yeah. One of the most long-standing, probably the longest-standing character in Coronation Street.
Yeah, he is. He was in the first episode.
First episode, yeah. He is awake.
Is he?
Absolutely, yes.
Do you know what? I think Robbie Williams watches your videos.
Really?
Yes,
wow.
I do. He was like, he literally spends all his time on videos on YouTube, and he's like really into like spiritual gurus. I bet you any money he watches your videos.
Well, if he's watching, I will say I love his music, and just carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah. We love you, Robbie, and we've written to his team actually to invite him to come and have a cosmic chat with us.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's really exciting. We felt such a massive heart expansion and a deep soul connection with him. So that really just brought us so much joy, didn't it? Like knowing that he's on our team, and he's really working for the light. I've
been singing Rock DJ in Tesco's, Magenta. Been belting it.
Brilliant.
So many synchronicities with
Picking
Robbie.
things up like that.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we've pretty much covered a lot, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
I hope everyone feels satisfied that there's so many subjects to talk about at the moment, isn't there? But I'd love to do this regularly with you, especially while we're in the storm. And I think we're such a powerhouse of divine feminine wisdom.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk again.
Okay, so should we stop the video and we'll say goodbye to Magenta? Yeah. Okay, so thank you everyone for listening. It's been our absolute honour to serve our brothers and sisters, and we really hope and pray that your consciousness is expanded and you remember your divinity. That's my prayer.
So I'm kind of learning along with everybody else in the same way that everyone who receives the messages do. It's like so yes, it's finding that balance, and with friends who are awake, they've got their own balance. You don't need to try to make sure that you're bringing in all the light information. But for I just had something buzzing in my ear.
Oh, was it a bee?
I think it was a bee or a wasp or something.
Oh my God.
It might be a fly, but it was very buzzy. I'm trying to think, what? Gosh, why would that happen? What was I saying for that to happen? I always look at that synchronicity.
Yeah,
I think it's a bee or a wasp, actually.
Oh my God.
It's a giant bee.
Oh my God.
You'll have to edit this out. I'm gonna have to go and get Daniel and tell him to, because it's literally this big. Well, you can keep it in if you want, but I'm going to call him and ask him to get it out of the room.
One's from Robbie. It's really good.
Daniel?
Oh, no, I was going to say that anyway.
It's big news.
Anything else that we should say about? What do you think?
I think it's the hornet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's probably one of those AI cabal hornets that's found me and is coming along to stop me talking. I'm actually
careful,
Daniel. That's been buzzing in my ear while I'm trying to talk to Jen and Liam. So, is there any chance you can get it out?
Hi, Daniel.
Hello, sorry everybody.
Hello.
Don't say sorry.
We're going to edit it out.
Yeah, it's going to have to be edited. It's a shame because normally any of the interviews that I've done lately have just like been from start to finish. There's not needed any editing, but
It's a big one.
it's huge. It's actually in my ear. But
I saw it. It just sort of manifested as well.
It manifested itself. It wasn't even in here before. And I mean, the windows aren't even open.
What?
It's me talking about balance.
Beelzebub.
It was actually right in my ear.
It
It actually
manifested out of your ear.
It's just come out of my head. I was just saying, you can't really show people that because then they will think that I'm like,
I'll keep it.
I've been attacked and it's massive, I know. It's absolutely huge hornet.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It's absolutely massive.
Oh my God.
I can't believe that. So I'm looking at the synchronicity, I'm talking about balance and actually balancing, dark and light, as in the negative information that isn't really negative. It's information that you need to get out.
Yeah.
And trying to find that balance with people. And I don't seem to have a problem when I'm doing interviews or videos, but I find that really hard when I'm seeing friends.
Really? I just think like your friends are so lucky to have you, and I wish you lived in Glastonbury and that we could just like hang out.
I'm not that far away. I've got the tour here, look.
Really?
Yeah, this goddess I bought from Glastonbury, and at the top of her head, and let me just move at the top of her head, there's the tour.
God.
I put that
Avalon goddess.
I put that up for you.
Oh.
I think it's flown away.
You are an Avalon goddess, Magenta.
And you are.
I recognise you.
Oh, no, it's still there. Come on, little hornet, you're going to have to go.
Who? Oh, I want to keep that bit in about
Yeah, turn the light off then.
These bits out.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
There's been loads of flies on Archie as well. He's been like trying to eat them.
Archie,
like, literally, I don't know, this big, a hornet. That's what it is.
On that side of the curtain.
I wonder what hornet medicine is. I think maybe it's
a wasp or a hornet.
I don't know.
It's a massive.
Where is it now? It's there.
Huge wasp.
Right, if I can just encourage you.
I don't think it is a hornet. Is it gone? Oh my goodness.
Has it gone?
Yeah.
Did you see it go?
Get the other window shut then in case it comes back. It's gone.
Oh my golly gosh, we experienced a miracle right before our eyes.
I didn't want to hurt it.
No, of course you didn't. Say hello to Jen and Liam.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hi Daniel, how are you?
It's like looking in a mirror.
Long
Oh
hair.
my God, you're so familiar to me, Daniel. Oh my God.
Where have you seen me before?
You said that Liam's much younger than you, but Daniel's the same. He's 11 years younger than me.
Oh really?
Yeah. So you've got a younger man and older woman thing going on as well.
18 years.
18. Oh my goodness, I thought we were bad. We're not toy boys then, Jen. It's good, isn't it?
Absolutely, we're doing so well. But Daniel, we look like we could be brother and sister.
Spiritual toy boy.
And you do look like you.
Amazing, long like that.
We should all just rock out.
Yeah.
I did that once.
Keep this all in. It's hilarious.
I don't mind if you keep it in. I really don't mind.
No, but yeah,
The bloopers reel at the end.
Yeah, you could actually. Yeah, put it-
Yeah.
But yeah,
The-
you probably
the
will
only
find
moment
people will
Magenta's been discombobulated.
people will say weird things like, because I've had strange noises here, like a lorry going past or a motorbike, and people will write to me and say there was a demon, in your room, and so
Oh,
people will make things of it. But
yeah.
I'll just have to cut back into talking about
All right.
balance then.
See you later, hippies.
And you
Right,
might
Daniel, come to Glastonbury to see us soon.
Yeah, we will as soon as we can sort of get away.
You by the sea?
Yeah, 5 minutes from the beach.
We could come and see you.
And 5 minutes from the forest.
Yeah, we could come and
Got
visit you
both.
today.
It's actually a lovely area, actually. But yeah. Okay, so let me just think. Balance. I'll get back into it.